Hey everybody, so welcome to the In Layman's Terms podcast. We break down real estate, no fluff, just facts. I have an amazing person here with me today, Fallon Quinn. She is with SunWest Mortgage. Her twin of Fallon Quinn is with Angel AI. We'll get to that in a minute. Welcome to the studios. Thanks for
Thank you.
coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
We are lucky to have you here today. We just had a great announcement, about the mortgage company we're both working with now and bringing better solutions to people.
PSW Lending by SunWest Mortgage.
That's amazing, and what we're going to be do for people in this business, how we serve, and thank you for helping us with that. Thank you for bringing it to the table, right? We're going to talk several topics today: alignment, coaching, AI. Where would you like to start?
Let's start with alignment. I feel that's very important today.
That is one of the key factors in how you do business, who you align with. And if you can't align in the beginning, it's not going to work. You can never put that round or the square peg in the round hole. If you realize that up front, you walk away. I walked away from a mortgage company last August 1st. We signed paperwork with SunWest July 31st of this year. The alignment was there. I'm not driven. Money doesn't motivate me today. We motivate ourselves differently, and that's how you guys came at it, right?
Right, because as a company as a whole, you can see we're not profit driven, we're purpose driven. And last year around the same time, you and I kind of met for the first time. Things just weren't right, and here we are again.
But it was in a different atmosphere,
right?
Okay, and look how it changed later, okay? And so, because once we got into our circles, we were orbiting, and then things came to fruition later. That's how it works.
Right.
You can't push everything I've learned. And, you're big into astrology. You like to say Leos and what we do and everything. But my whole life, I was always a pusher. I have, I told you, they said now I have some emotional intelligence finally. But I do have finally found some patience in the sense that if you don't have to make the decision, if it's not critical, don't make it. If you have to, definitely do it. But if you can just take a step back and wait, a lot of time those problems will solve themselves.
Let me touch on that for a second. You mentioned emotional intelligence. I feel like there's a real thin line these days between people suggesting lack of emotional intelligence versus just regular emotion, right? I feel like sometimes people that are more emotional and more passionate, they kind of are a little misunderstood, right? So instead of not having that emotional intelligence, they're actually showing their emotions. And I feel like people are almost getting victimized or victim shamed for being their true selves. How do you feel about that?
You got to keep your emotions out of business. It will be really hard on your business if you run it with emotions. So being an emotional person in a lot of ways, in the sense that, well, one, anger is not an emotion, it's a response, so we can't count that. But I care about what I do so much that it can impact my business. And for instance, yesterday we had some rough times in the business. My coach, who carved out an hour call again this week to sit with me and discuss some things, and I made sure that the night before I was well rested, and I'm able to, at that point, have some clarity of a situation because we have distance between things now. We have to remember, as the CEO or whatever your title is, that you have to be above the trees. You cannot look at them. You have to be up there watching everything.
Right.
Because when you lose focus and all you see is the tree, you're failing your company. You're failing your team, because it's your responsibility to have the big picture. When you bring yourself into their seat all the time, you've lost your vision. And I sit in the visionary role. My job is to create opportunities, SunWest Mortgage, other states for business. Who will do that if not for the CEO?
Right.
And you have to take the emotion out of those decisions then, which is hard.
But how do you portray then your vision, right, and your purpose, especially to your clients, right, when they're used to people being profit driven and not showing that emotion? How do you build that and gain that trust?
Well, trust is gained over time and by your actions. people should view you by not what you say, by what you do. Okay? People say a lot. What do they actually do? Right?
Right.
And so with my clients, it's always, what more can I do to help you into this home? It's always about how much more I can give for them. I'm okay with that. My job is to create homeowners. How can I help you do this? Our partnership in the mortgage space now will help create more homeowners.
That's correct.
Okay? So that is how you show your vision, but also with your team. For instance, I think that there's two narratives you can follow. Some CEOs like to keep things very close to the vest. Okay, fine. I always let my team know the direction we're going. One, if they think I'm zigging but I'm zagging, maybe there's going to be some issues. And just like, so recently, a valued member who was outside of my team knew the direction I'm going and wants to come on board more. And because she knew where we were going, it created an opportunity for a conversation that I had. And we'll make that announcement later, as you know, because that's going to be a great addition to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to always let people know a direction. That's my way of doing it. Some people say, no, don't say anything. No, I'm going to run my business that way. I feel it's the best way for me because then people know we're in this lane, we're doing this for a reason. And then they can align with it or not, or make plans that, you know what, Tom, I don't think we can work together. Right? I've had somebody leave and say, we don't align. You're right, we don't align. Look at the values I said. You do not do what you say you're going to do. By not doing what you say you're going to do, that's not a good team player. So if those are my 1 and 2, right, out of 7 core values that are supposed to be non-negotiable, we didn't align.
You just mentioned something very important, over-promising and under-delivering. You talked about your coach. I mean,
Gary Harper.
these days, you have so many options, right?
Mhm.
From coaches to doctors to hairstylists
Not well,
to
hairstylist and me, no.
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Realtors, loan officers, right? A lot of people, we were talking about this earlier, right? How many homes have you sold? How many transactions did you do last year? When did you get in the business, right? But like you mentioned earlier, what's most important is the alignment. So you talk about your coach very highly of him, right? You've had several experiences, some not so great. He's amazing for you.
Mhm.
How do you kind of filter out the BS when you're talking to someone who's supposed to be top of the industry, right? To realize that it's not a good fit and they don't see your vision.
Well, and it hasn't happened in a while, but I used to get like propositioned by people who wanted to coach me. Fantastic. Well, what would you coach me in is my first question. They better have the answer with what I do. When they come at me with, oh, well, we have to figure that. No, you've offered to coach me. You didn't know what I do already, but you're offering to coach me? That's bull. You should have looked at what I do and to make sure you can coach me in it. Because we're in a unique space. We created a lot of the space.
Right.
When I looked for my coach, a lot of people sent me to talk to this guy, Gary. It's like, hey, who's this 1-800-call Gary guy? And the story is pretty, it's funny because I talked to his son first, okay? He couldn't sell me. He's 22, whatever he was, trying to ring me. It's like, dude, listen, stop. I know all this psychobabble you're trying to run on me. You can't push my buttons. We had a meeting set with Gary, the man. Okay. Saturday, he was in Florida to see me on a Saturday. Okay. Friday, then I took the predictive index test that they needed to, really quick, 10 minutes. What he told me in the first few minutes about my test, he described the real me. I don't need social interactions. I don't. I can be good without it. My business says differently, but you wouldn't know that by me. He described my character based on that test exactly. Let's have more of a conversation. Then he told me how he was going to help me and what my problems were.
Your pain points, he knew them.
Mm-hmm. And so he I was ready to just drop the credit card and leave, but we spent another hour and a half getting to know each other. Then that was October-ish. No, you know what? It was Halloween, right before Halloween, because my family and I were going to. He's a Disney guy. I'm not. We're SeaWorld people, right? But I took my family to. I had a lot of people in town, SeaWorld for trick or treating, right? And then right after Thanksgiving, I went to Indiana, Northeast Indiana in December. Not a good idea for me. I'm
It
a
was like
Florida boy.
-10.
Dude, it was cold. But I learned more in those 2 days with him than I learned in a year, one of my $40,000 masterminds.
Mm,
And I knew the value I was getting, and I was good at that point because we align in so many different ways. Like I'm not a follower at all. I don't follow him, but I follow his instructions because I know the man he is. For instance, when we were having these business issues a couple weeks ago, we talked. Then we had space. Then we talked again yesterday. We had clarity of what we were going to do next. That's a hard thing because we're in a unique space. One, two, we are really at the forefront of what we do in manufactured housing, but he cares so much. He knows my dynamics and to give me all this extra time. All the time. There's always, I don't use the phone enough, he says. He says, you use that phone when you want to with me because I can always get through. It's not like I have to talk to anybody else. Um, but we are where we are because of his company, his guidance.
right.
And that's really not the norm in the industry.
You said something important. I know when I started a couple of years ago, I mean, every coach in the book reached out to me, right? And it was more I had to sell myself to them that I was worthy of their coaching. But you hit it right on the head. No, there's so many options, and we're the new generation in this industry, right? We are changing everything. So instead, these coaches need to prove their worth and show us their value is there, especially when they're asking for money,
Oh,
especially
yeah.
when they're asking for compensation. If you can't help me sell a house in 6 months, what are you doing? What am I paying you for?
But so I come from consulting background, a pay for performance industry. So you see a lot of coaches, you pay them the money, whether they succeed or not. My coach is different. I could walk away any time during the year and not owe him any more money. So when I canceled my last quarterly because we had some family issues, the first thing he did when we didn't reschedule was to call me and ask if they did something wrong. That's not the norm by far. Not is everything like, hey man, we don't got to come to you. Great, we saved money. Did we do something wrong as a company? No, man, this is what's going on in the family. How can I help you? We prayed, we talked. That's the difference, right? There's an alignment in his circle that matters to me to the point where I've changed some directions in my life because I need to be more like this. Let me take my hot head out of it. Because for me to be a better leader, and I fail each and every day, I'm married, so I'm told how much I fail, right? But you to lead your people, you have to lead by example. So when I am talking to people about change, the first thing I have to remind and set the example of, look, I'm reading, I'm learning, I'm growing. I want everybody to do that as well because I push everybody here to get better at what they do. Whether they stay here or not, I would love for everyone to be here for life. If they go on to do greater things somewhere else, I hope they learned how to start that here. And I'm okay with that. I really am. Because then if we push them to go on and they spread their wings somewhere else or for themselves, I love it.
We're still a part of their chapter and their growth. I feel there's a weird shift in, I don't know, not astrology, energy, I don't know what it is. But everyone that's very like-minded, like us, we're all kind of gravitating towards each other right now. There's some kind of shift happening, right? The energy, the alignment's there. And I just feel like, our circle's getting stronger. And so it's easier for us to identify the BS and filter through it now, right?
Well, when people reach out and say, I want to coach you, I want to do this, I want to do that, just give me money, right? Bye. I was talking to somebody, a free coaching session the other day, an hour. Not a problem. I give it away all the time, right? My time is my most valuable possession. I had to get her over the mindset of, you know, you need to give away your information to be understood in this business. Don't be one of those people who just say, like, on TV, on the radio, whatever it is, give me money. Be of value,
Value.
right?
There it
Be of
is.
value. Information and knowledge is meant to be given. If you hold on to it, you will never hold on to any more. Okay? Everything I've learned, I freely give away. Freely give it away. I still coach people for free because I promised to do that in the beginning. In fact, after March, I sat down with my coaching clients. I made a list of who was really executing. I got rid of half of them. It's not worth my time to take your money if you're not going to execute.
And it's almost a disappointment, right?
Well, I'm not your psychiatrist, okay? I'm not. I mean, maybe I need one
You're
myself.
my psychiatrist.
Yeah, sure. But, here's the thing, though, right? If you just want to come and complain about life, I call them people Eeyores. I don't like Eeyores around me.
Mm-hmm.
We all have problems.
Mm-hmm.
No one cares. Work harder. That's not a good mantra for some people, but unfortunately, it's something you have to understand. No one cares.
I think that's
Maybe
the
your circle
purpose.
does. So I care about the people around me for sure, people I serve. But if I cry and say, oh, look, I have it so hard. No, I don't. No, I don't.
And your battles, they may not compare to someone else's, but to you, they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot to say about kind of purpose of life. I've been thinking about that a lot lately, right? I think it's to grow and to leave Earth a
You
little
have
bit
to
better.
grow. So every day you should be growing in some way. And I don't just mean good dinners either, okay? But because when you stop growing, you die.
Right.
And I don't see myself as a retirement person. People ask me, hey, what's your next move? I'm honest about it. I've mentored people. I want to do more. I had a really bad upbringing father. I never wanted to be a dad. Now I only want to be their dad. But having mentored people, I want to do more of that one day. But real estate is the vehicle for that. The first really good mentorship I had with this young man, he searched me and found me because of real estate. He wanted to learn real estate at 14. I was like, man, let's have some other talks first. And, we got him from a C student to an all A student who graduated early. Now, here was the problem, though. He asked for something to come, he wanted a job. We gave him one. But he thought this relationship carried over here and gave him an excuse to fail a lot. And so what I had to do was I had to build in separation with that. I put some buffers between us. And you know what? After a year and a half, we fired him. It took him 8 weeks to come have a conversation with me. I left it alone. Hey, are you ready to have this talk now? He came to my office one Sunday and he cried. He should have, because he failed because he thought our relationship let him get away with things. It didn't. And there was multiple conversations of, hey man, if you get fired, you're always welcome here. You can still come to eat. He's my other son. He came to churches with me, vacations with me. He always had a place to stay and eat. He still does. He just doesn't have a place to work. Now life is hard for him. But let me tell you, the other day I saw him driving. No, that's not true. I saw him pulled over by 3 of our local town police.
Oh, no.
And so our town, maybe their police could be a little...
aggressive?
Yes. And let me understand. So he is a black person, right? So I went around the block. I came past him. I saw a jerk cop. The lieutenant I gave a ton of money for, gifts for Toy for Tots. I can talk to him. The other 2 I won't even have a conversation with because I've already had issues with them. So lieutenant said, hey, do you know him? I said, yep, good kid. Drives like an idiot, absolutely. But you know him? I said, I mentored him for 4.5 years. He's a good kid. He drives like an idiot. They didn't go as hard as they could have on him. He called me and he thanked me. He said, I was being an idiot. I said, I know. I told him that you're an idiot. But that's why they let him go, though.
That brings up, I guess, credibility came to mind, and collaboration versus competition, right? Especially in our industry. I feel like especially what we're doing, helping so many people.
Well, let me stop you there, right? Okay, we just had a meeting. And the two people who were going to be in the meeting, I said, give me their names, right? Because what did I do? I did my homework.
Right.
Okay. So the guy who was the broker and the lawyer comes in and said, oh, you and me are competitors. And I said, my only competition is myself. He walked away a little differently, didn't he, that day?
He did.
Yeah, because he didn't believe in what he did. He was a lawyer. I don't care you're a lawyer. Who cares? Lawyer's not going to help you in what you do. You're a broker. Great. You should know better than what you're trying to do. So there's no alignment with John, right? But the other guy, Ron.
No names.
Okay. Bob. We like Bob, right? Bob's the one we like.
Jack and Jill.
Okay. But with Bob, there's alignment, right?
Yes.
And so we'll do some with him because we can talk. It's not about competition. We can collaborate because his mindset matches ours. The other person doesn't.
Right. And
Okay.
there's so much room for everyone at the top.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, when you're scrambling when you first enter the business, everything is competition. Everything is competition. When you grow out of that competition, because now you're a specialist, what I do is a very niche arena.
Right.
When people want to work in this arena, instead of trying to compete with me, they collaborate with me and I with them. But when you're there and you're banging on everyone's door the same way, it's competition. And as you grow, you realize, oh, well, your specialty is what? Mine's this. Let's align and do this. And I see that more and more as we grow out of that younger, earlier stage.
I've just seen almost a disservice to clients and consumers these days, especially with, kind of in our industry. People see, since they're seeing everything as competition, they're almost not gatekeeping, but not willing to research other options for their clients. And I think that's so important, especially when we can save people money, time, headaches.
So we have, it's on the books, it's going to close. The realtor broker for this client would not use us as their preferred lender. Okay, fine. But when I look at the numbers they're getting, they're not getting served by using the other lender because if they went, first of all, if they came in-house to us, we could have gave them more credit. But I bet you that realtor and that other lender relationship, there's some kind of financial thing.
Oh, 100%.
Okay, but it's not as good for the buyer. So are they doing that buyer a service or are they taking care of themselves? And so now when they sent the offer over, it was a no originally. She, in the end, had to reduce her commission to even get it across the table. I said, if you want those credits, you got to come with our lender. And I know we can do better than those rates.
You just hit it right there. You don't want the profit from them coming to us, to your lender, right? You just know things are going to be handled correctly. They're going to get the best possible option, the best possible service, and you're going to stand and guarantee that. How can you guarantee something that you're not involved in or you don't know anything about?
People say it's like a control thing. In some ways it is. I need to be able to go to you or whoever and say, why is this happening? If I don't have an interest in that part of the business, some kind of stake in it, I can't do that. That other company can tell me, get out of here, right? But I can come to any person who's in my team, in my sphere, and say, why is this happening? Whether it's the mortgage side, the real estate side, the construction side. Why? I have an ownership interest. Some kind of control that I can manipulate or get my answers. When it's an outside company that we're working with, they can tell me, no, I'm not telling you anything. So in this business, as I've grown, the verticals have to come in-house because it has to align with what I'm doing. I have to be able to pick up the phone and say, why is this a problem? We were closing a deal in Orlando. There was a well issue that shouldn't have been an issue. None of my emails ever say that I'm any kind of owner. It just says operations. And so they're in the title company the day of closing. And I said, hey, don't worry about it. I'm going to handle that. And the realtor was like, well, you're just operations. Okay, right, okay. Yeah, you're right. And a little bit more. But they explained that, no, he's a little more than that. Relax, it's handled. And it got done because my team made a mistake. I'll fix that. It was a $6,800 weld mistake.
You're very similar to me. You love that constructive criticism. That's where the growth comes from.
But it was my team's failure.
And you accepted that.
And I said, I'll fix that.
I like that.
And then so I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a realtor, I'm not a broker, but I've closed a lot of transactions. We do everything in a trust. The realtor was making this document for us to sign. You can't do it that way. You're not a realtor. Okay, you're right. But we're closing today. If the addendum is for after closing, as soon as we close, the trust is non-existent.
Right.
I don't have to do what you're asking me to do anymore legally. So if I signed that, I could walk away from that. I won't, but why don't we do it correctly? You do it like this. And she was like, well, you're just operations again. It's like, Jesus, man, why are we back on that? And they had to explain to her, no, you're doing it wrong because when you buy in a trust and you sell, when there's nothing in the trust anymore, the trust is done. And guess what? You don't have to do anything anymore. So when you do the addendum for after closing stuff, it has to be written differently. I didn't have to tell her that.
The word that just came to mind is underestimated. I feel like that happens a lot, right?
Yeah. Because I don't need to be listed as the owner.
Right.
I don't need to take credit. I would rather not have those problems, but they happen. I would rather my team to win every game without me. They need me less and less. Perfect. I want them to be the winners. My job is to see them succeed up front because then the company we're building works correctly. Do I have to step in at times? Sure.
How do you explain to people, nobody believes that people are out here just doing good for good, right? Everyone thinks there's always a hidden agenda. I know personally what you're doing for future homeowners everywhere. You're literally giving everything back to the customer, to the client, to the homeowner. How do you address that issue when people say, what's in it for you?
So my parents bought their first home in 1981. It was like 18% interest. My dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer probably a few months later, had surgery. I remember how hard things were. And that was their first home. That is probably the first, that is always going to be somebody's probably biggest possession in life. And maybe they have wrong motives. I'm financially good. Live in the same house that we had before real estate. We never upgraded. We almost did, but our daughter talked us out of it. She's like, but this is grandma's house because my mom lived with us, right? So she brings the picture, she puts it down, we can't leave. It's like, okay, we're done. I have a mission and a purpose different. So there was a time, I don't know, I'm not flashy. When I lived in Miami, really a lot of flash. I owned 11 cars.
What was your favorite one?
Oh man, I had one of the original 5.5 it was the convertible Mercedes 5.5 AMG, the SL. But I got it through Canada, so it was gray market, so it had no governor. It would do almost 200 miles an hour. Ask me how I know, right? And so,
what color was it?
Silver. They're all silver. Silver. Those were like either silver or black. Only two colors I'll ever have in a car. Okay, and I have a white truck now because it's all I could get back then.
I was gonna say that. Wait a second.
But they didn't have, when I bought that in 22, it was COVID. I couldn't barely get colors, right? But I'm thinking about getting a red one next, maybe, just to switch it up.
Orange. I see bright orange.
I know, but I'll probably get bored of that, right? It's not like a shoelace I can change. So it's not a money factor for me. And if people say, oh, but there's some motive, yeah, we are profiting. Don't get me wrong, but we're profiting way less than I could.
I feel your motive is that you're filling your cup because you're leaving the earth a little bit better than you found it.
And yes, and having not ever created something until I got into real estate. And then the first time I sold a home, 21, and I got a letter. Like because it was that time, everything was over ask. It was crazy, the bidding. And I'm like, wow, look at this. This is how real estate is great.
Especially in California.
Well, here, no. Everybody was moving to Florida, though. Okay?
That's why.
And so this first-time home buyer, husband, wife, 2-year-old, to suit something, I have a 2-year-old. So I had a swing in this backyard for my daughter. I didn't take it down because I would bring her out with me. And I always had, during the summer, she'd come hang out with me all the time. And I always had little places for her to play, right? Here's a little swing that my team made for her. Well, they wrote a letter about how they envisioned their daughter growing up in that house and talked about that swing. And they weren't the best offer. I think it was by 10 or 12 grand. Their realtor knew they weren't the best offer. So I call. She's like, Tom, they don't have any more. I said, I didn't ask for more. They got the house. That letter is still in my office, right? Because now, a couple years later, they got divorced. Whatever happens, happens. But that's the American dream.
In that moment, you were able to provide them something that nobody else could.
Even now, when there's problems afterwards, and look, does everybody do their warranty correctly? So we get a call, and I'll jump in and still fix stuff. I've sent my team to fix problems more than I get yelled at for doing it, put it that way. But it's not, we shouldn't be, shut up, just fix it, right? Got a veteran in Lakeland, he's crying about something. Did you send in your warranty for that stuff? Nope. All right, I'll fix it. So I had to stop the guy, say, hey, Gary, can you just, like, you got a 3-year warranty, we're only a year in, can you just fill the paperwork out? It'd be really good, you know? So you know what I did? I went there and filled it out with him.
There we go, you just hit it on the head. That's why you are perfect, right? Because you follow through, and not only that, it's not just the transaction for you. You keep that relationship, because sometimes people just need guidance.
Or they're annoying, they keep calling, right?
Well, they just need help.
Yes, you know, and I get yelled at for doing that all the time. Trust me, you know, Jeannie, why are you doing that? I'm supposed to do that. No, you're not. Okay.
It's your servant heart, you can't help it.
But you know how many times, and I don't think of it that way, that people have referred us to buy because of that? Because we'll go a little bit above and beyond, for sure. You know, after, look, the hurricane hit Milton the day we could drive out afterwards. So when I'm driving to look at units, I also stop by every one of my rentals and make sure everyone was okay. They don't even know I'm the owner most of the times.
You're just operations.
I'm just like the guy who comes around and like looks once in a while. No power, no this, no that. We fix things for them, right? Because you're supposed to. I might not live in these houses that I sell, but I still make sure every one I go through before we hand it over.
What's your baby? This is your brand. This is your business, right? Every home, every transaction represents you and what you're building.
So you called it my baby. You're right. And people have dropped my baby before. It happens, right? Because they don't always have the same caring. They didn't nurture this. I didn't know anything about real estate 6 years ago. So it's going to be August 28th, coming up. I bought my first flip. I knew nothing about this business. I know a little bit more today. It's only 6 years. My first year, 3 deals, $4,000 total. Not profit, total. And my wife had no clue how bad things were. So I had to change me to succeed. That's what I had to do. I wasn't good at asking for help. In real estate, you better be good at asking for help, in the sense that you're going to fail a lot.
Be careful who you're asking.
Well, you know, I built at that point, I started to have a network of people I can talk to. I went out, I found a local coach who was doing it well in this market at the time. We aligned with values. Her name is Marlena Dates. She was so hard at the time. I had to have 5 questions for this Zoom before we started, because it was still COVID. It was a Friday night. I just expected validation. She beat the hell out of me, right? I always tell her that it was like I had 5 balloons. She called me stupid and popped every one. And it's funny too, because if she was a man, I would have cursed her that night and quit. My plan was to quit the next morning. So I had that on Fridays, I always had my daughter. So we baby sharked it that night. You know, baby shark, Cocomelon, and went to sleep. I woke up the next morning and I said, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. And I became a sponge in the business. I learned to say, help, I'm drowning, need help here, to the right people, because I couldn't do that before. But you have to be able to do that. You have to have a network you can talk to.
Your network is your net worth. And that's very important because, like you said, you're not brand new, but you're not very seasoned. But look at everything you've accomplished because you have that grit. You're very resourceful, right? And if you don't know something, you're going to find out the answer because you like to be 100% when you say something. And I think that's what really stands you apart from a lot of people in the industry. And I just wanted to let you know that.
My old acquisition manager used to think I'm the smartest person in the room. And I used to say, no, I know a lot of people. Okay. And because I don't believe it has to be a transaction, a relationship shouldn't be a transaction. It shouldn't be I give you A, you give me B. No, we have to be able to go back and forth to help each other. It just shouldn't be a dollar for a dollar. If you work a dollar for a dollar, you're never going to get ahead in life. You always hear the phrase, it has to be win-win. No, sometimes you lose to win.
You have to lose.
My best deal last year, I lost $50,000 on. We housed a family whose husband died during the mortgage process, 4 kids, 3 autistic. The realtor and I, after that, $1.5 million in sales. We didn't know each other. Now, when one of her clients buys my houses, she'll always tell them, don't get an inspection and I'll make them. But Tom, no, it's still not me. It's the company that builds the home, but I can fix everything now. I want them to get the inspection, right? Because I can fix it really quick now. Later on, it's harder for me. But that trust is there. Think about that. We did $1.5 million of like $250,000 homes. How many is that? Like 6? Yeah.
I was watching a video you posted recently, and you mentioned something about, you can't do everything, right? So you place the right people in the right positions.
Hopefully.
And
Hopefully.
Well, you learn. We got to lose sometimes, right? So that was really important to me. I feel like a lot of people don't take me seriously because I am newer in the industry. But what people don't realize is they have to look at my team. I mean, I have people behind me. My biggest supporters are not only multi-billionaires, but they've been in the industry.
A very humble man too, right?
You would never know.
He doesn't have his plain or fanciness, right? I'm like, ooh, I like that.
But the vision and the purpose is there, and you can feel that energy. And so that's why I really think it's important for people, especially when they're making these decisions, to hire someone to represent one of the biggest transactions in their life. They look at the team as a whole and really look at the person.
But, so when you look at, for instance, when we had the call the first day, they asked me, how much money do I want to make? And I said, how much money am I going to be able to give to my buyer? The shift, right? That changed all the conversations because, I'm not keeping anything at the moment. I don't want a dime. What are we giving them? Let me know, okay? Because our job is to put people in houses.
Well, you saw a problem. The interest rates, a little bit higher than we'd like, and you found a resolution and how you could solve that.
And the amazing part, how they can get that extra down payment money if needed afterward that doesn't count. I was like, that is so needed today. I hope we can give them enough where they don't need to, but if they want, it's there, right? And so options. It's not, I think that a lot of people want to talk about there's no cookie cutter fit.
There's no box.
No. And you didn't watch the other video. Never have a box when how you think. People always say, oh, now you need to think outside of the box. You should have been thinking that way before.
People say, oh, the sky's the limit. There's no more limit.
No.
Not these days.
I always, I like to say you can learn to fly. But people get so caught up in this is how it should be. No, it's not. You make your own road. You decide what your ceiling is if you work and learn and grow. My children, I believe, and the man I've mentored and the kids I will mentor later on, and hopefully people around me will go on to do greater things than I ever do. But a few years ago, I couldn't accept that, right? Because I always said, man, imagine if I knew then what I know now, what could I have done? And now I look at it as my 16-year-old sounds like me. If you ask my little girl what's more valuable, time or money, she'll tell you time. at almost 8, she knows that. That's different.
That's the purpose.
Because, well, I think that we are taught a certain way, and it has to be this way. Why?
We're conditioned our whole life.
No, well, we are. School teaches us how to go work in a factory.
Mm.
That's why my kids go to a different school. And when my son went into 9th grade, we're doing all those prep work with him because he's in a program for dual enrollment. Now he's in 11th starting. He starts college, okay? And they asked him, what does he want to do in life? Where does he want to go work? He's like, oh, I don't want to ever work for anybody. I'm like, oh, good. And the guy was giving him pushback on it, and he defended his position well. And he was right. My wife's kicking me. I'm like, he's not wrong. Don't kick me anymore. I said it right in the room because he didn't see that my wife was kicking me. My son is right. And I challenged his teacher, his administrator, you can get fired, can't you? He's like, well, yeah, everybody can. I can't. I can only fail. There's a difference. I can only fail if I quit. But you can't fire me from my role. I own the company. My son is right. Why work for somebody if you don't have to? They don't care for people anymore. What, you're going to go work for a company for 30 years and you're going to have a retirement? Probably not. One, will the company be there? Maybe not. So you're responsible for yourself.
You brought up a good point. Things change, right? Circumstances change. I feel like, I mean, our kids, they really have gone through it, right? With COVID and everything else. And now with innovation and AI, I feel it's really important to kind of communicate with people that are graduating even from high school and college, because a lot of them, they're coming out of college with all of this debt for these professions that are no longer going to exist in a few years, right? Because of AI and innovation. And some people are looking at it the wrong way. They think AI is replacing jobs and replacing emotional connection. But what we need to communicate is, if you embrace it, find something you're great at, something you're passionate about, research it, and then use the innovation and the AI as a tool and set yourself up for success instead of failure. What would you say?
Get great at what you hate.
Yeah.
Okay?
Learn to do what you can't do.
Well,
I
but
can't
with
remember
any,
the phrase.
so, you know, AI is the future. There's no getting around it. Now, I don't want to see the Terminator either. Like, we joke about that. That was a movie when I was a kid, right? It's like, oh, here it goes.
Have you seen the baby Tesla robots? They have dancing competitions. I have to send you a video later. I was cracking up.
This is the future. There's going to have to be some boundaries created with it. But for me at 53, it's different than my son at 16. It's not going to replace me at this moment. He needs to understand the world of what that's going to be like, because it's his world. It's no longer mine or yours. You know, you're definitely younger. Our children, it's their world though coming. So I've given him. I don't think he's read the books I've given him on it yet. That's his fault. But when he does, we'll discuss it. We read books and then we discuss. If he doesn't read, we don't talk about it, and he knows that. He's like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. What have you read? Put it on him. I don't make him do anything. He just has to understand that there's a step after this, but you have to do this first. So he realizes he's missing something. And this summer, he's been here in studio with me. He's been out there listening to people sitting there who have done really amazing things in this industry. He drove me a lot this summer to meetings. He sat in some of the financial meetings I had. They're always at Starbucks or something cool, right? And I said, you can come in or you can sit in the car. If you come in, you can't say a word. You can't have your phone out. No, because these are important conversations, and I don't want him. And he made a choice to be there. And he said, you know, in the end, I realized what you were doing. But while you were doing it, I thought, what the hell is Pop doing? Because he calls me Pop. But we are getting somewhere, but we have to, first, me and the guy have to understand each other. Do we align? Can we move forward? And then we can go to this next step where I show you exactly what I do and how.
Patience. Too many people jumping in and want to get to the top, right? And they miss those important steps. I'll admit it. I did that. But once I realized that and I accepted it, I was able to grow, be resourceful, do what I needed to do.
Resourceful. When I go into business, with people. I only do business with people I like, right? So now we sit down, we have a conversation.
Because we have so many options these days. Why?
Right.
Why would we work with someone we don't like?
Look, we talk a lot, but we laugh a lot too. That's important. I don't want it to be so serious to where we're going to be Eeyores about business. We're going to have bad days. There's going to happen, but we have to have a fun time along the way. I think I'm a character with jokes, and I make fun of things. I make fun of myself really well. I'm the expert at it. That's about life, because we have to laugh, because one day there's going to be enough crying to worry about. And, so my son, he's there, and he's like, I thought you were kind of crazy with it, but then I get it in the end. He says, you built commonality with him. I said, oh, really? That's a good word you said.
You found a way to connect.
I gave him a book. It's called You Can't Learn to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It is the original sales book. It's the Sandler system. It's the straight line before they called it that. People do business with people they like and trust. Let's see if we can find common ground and then grow it from there.
Even if they lack maybe the experience, right?
Well, now these are meetings with lenders, so they have the experience. They wanted to meet. Can I use their money? Absolutely. But when they get really serious and they said, hey, if we give you $1 million, what are you going to do? I think I want to go to Vegas. And I want to see,
Put it all on red.
I want to see if they laugh about that, right? I was with a dinner party of 17 people. I had the only Chevy. They had McLarens, crazy cars. And the guy has a 1031 to use. It's like $1 million. He said, hey, if we invest this with you, what will you do? I'm going to buy a McLaren too, I said. He said, what color you want? And I said, ooh, yeah, let's talk.
Buy a plane, it's a tax write-off.
So is a McLaren, maybe. No, it's not. It doesn't weigh enough. Because I know what I'm
6,000 pounds. Right?
Double bonus depreciation this year on certain categories, 40%. See what I buy next.
Who do we know at McLaren? Let's get an SUV out.
No, they're not on the list. Trust me, I checked the list, right? Because if you pay cash, you get 40% more this year on certain areas. And so, but because he joked, and we've been at dinner parties before, we're having conversations. Because that's funny, right? Now, he had his 2-year-old, so they're both doctors, him and his wife. They got their 2-year-old there. I wanted to hang out with the 2-year-old and the mashed potatoes, because I definitely I can see me doing that. And they're like, you don't mind? I said, absolutely not. That's fun. Like, if you can bring your child to a dinner party like that, because they're both doctors, she's kind of only doing the kid thing right now. And she's like, oh, I follow you on Instagram and TikTok. Cool, right? Cool. Awesome. And we're going to have more conversations as this grows, and what we may do or not, but there's a common ground, there's fun. They look like they wouldn't have a good sense of humor, but they have. Just the text jokes they send me sometime, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see some like water guns coming out one day, right? And I think we're going to SeaWorld or something like that.
Oh, it's going to be hot.
No, I mean, like SeaWorld, there's like a lot of water there though.
Oh, even more humid.
Aquatica. But the doctor, my chiropractor, introduced us. He puts these dinner parties together that are like really, like, he's the most interesting man, I always say, guy, because he puts these dinner parties together that is so different. You don't there's an Amazon driver, there's 2 anesthesiologists, there's a pilot. There was this woman who, she has 2 PhDs. She works. As soon as she has enough money, she travels. When she runs out of money, she comes back and works. Okay? And she's 41 or 42, and she's been everywhere. And I'm like, you're good with that? She's like, I love the nomad lifestyle. I have a storage unit. I have nothing else. When I have to come back, I rent something.
I was recently in Miami with a group of investors.
I saw that.
And 2 of the couples there were super interesting. Everyone was really interesting, and I totally connected with everyone. But except for one person, but we'll leave that over there. But 2 of them, they're from the West Coast. They have a bunch of investments, Airbnb properties, and now they live permanently on their boat and just travel around and living their best life. Another couple doing the same thing in the van, traveling around. I mean, it's amazing, right? I mean, with these days, you have so many options. Why not do whatever makes you happy? But it's so cool to be able to talk to people
who do
that are doing different, I mean, life a different way, right? But still finding
Not
that
cookie
commonality.
cutter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to take, I want to get an RV and I want to go from Florida to the Grand Canyon and then hit all those parks, you know, Utah, Colorado.
Tetons.
Right. I want my children to see this, and my children are all in. And my wife's like, "You mean a month in an RV with you?" Like, you don't have to go. The kids
Did you show her the double deck, the 2-story one with the stairs?
Well, it's just the fact that I am who I am. Now that we don't work together, or we're going to stop that because it's bad for the marriage, maybe it will work because we won't talk business then. That was when my wife retired for 2 years. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Because this business retired her, because she gave me the opportunity. If she had said, no, I don't want you doing that, I probably would have listened. I can't guarantee because I'm not a good listener. But when I told her I want to do something else, she said, go. And then first year bad, second year good, retired her. Because she was getting ready for work one morning. It was the summer. I was up at 3. She doesn't get up at 3, by the way. And she was miserable. I'm up at 3 for a 20-hour day, and I'm happy. I'm like Tigger the Tiger bouncing around. And then I see her doing makeup, and I'm like, my love language with my wife is being annoying. Like, if I'm not annoying when I come home from a trip, she said she'll kill me.
I bet you excel in that.
Oh, I excel in that. And so I said, when are you happy? What day are you happy when you go to work? She's like, never. I said, even on payday? She's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. I said, then quit. She came home that night. She said, are you serious? I said, yeah, quit, retire. At the end of that year, she retired. And she said, I always wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I never had the opportunity because, the first one, the boy he's mine, but not from birth, right? I just got him at 4, no diapers. That's the best way, by the way. I learned diapers the second way. But I gave her that ability to what her dream was. And then she decided 2 years later to come work, and it hasn't worked. Our personalities are different. Okay, so we decided, hey, we're going to stop this. We want our home life back to where it was. And I asked her, what do you want to do? She is amazing at these crafts. She makes incredible gifts. You can't make money on it because they cost too much, but they're fabulous. She told me like how much it cost, and she was doing it for somebody. I said, how much are you charging? She said, $20. How much did it cost? $200. No, you see, we can't do that for a business, but for gifts. So she may go volunteer at our children's school in arts and crafts. They've asked once for that, for her help. Go and do that.
Even at the hospitals, the VA loves that. And then the other hospitals, they have volunteers come in and make beanies for the babies.
Oh, she makes these balloons with the toy inside on a box. And when you open the bow, the balloon lifts. The one they did for me last year had money attached to it.
Why am I not getting these for my closing gifts?
I only got 20s. I'm like, that's it? It costs more to make the gift than you gave me, but it was nice.
I think this should be a standard now. Closing gift, little party.
Don't we give enough credits?
We can always do more.
Okay, you're right. But, so somebody should work where they're happy.
Right.
Because then it's not work. I feel that, people say, oh, I want to go make money. Money doesn't make you happy, because I've made a lot more money in other businesses. Had 11 cars, not happy. My neighbor built a bigger house, not happy, because there's always going to be something with more. And if that's your motive, I can tell you, when I had that business and that life, I was never happy, because there's a competition that's different. Okay? Because it's a number game. When that changed in my life later, it was a people game now. How many people can we put in houses? Right? We don't count contracts. We count keys to families. That's our measuring stick. When we fail to hand those keys over at a closing, that's an issue for me, whether it's our fault or not. So far this year, we're really good that we haven't failed on a loan yet. You're going to keep that streak for us.
Right.
And that's the important part. Okay.
Streamline that.
Because it's not just people want to count contracts and closings. How many families are housed because of us? That's what matters especially in this economy right now. It's going to change. It will. It always does. But how long will it take?
Well, a lot of what we're doing right now is we're helping families that were recently told no, and were judged on their background, their color, their upbringing, right? Because you can't take that emotion out of a human being,
What?
right?
With AI, right? One day, right?
So what we've been able to do is, right, we give loans on facts and data only, guaranteed. Either you qualify or you don't. And if you don't, I'm going to know exactly in 5 minutes how to help you get there.
That was, I don't want to say a toy. When you guys showed me the platform, I love cool things.
It's new.
It's cool, but in the sense it was like, oh, you drop it in there, we're gonna know in 48 hours. The AI is guaranteed if it gives you an answer.
I mean, Pavan will pay for it out of his pocket because he believes and he trusts Angel AI.
He said we can be a division president, but can I be a bank president instead? He owns a few. No, but I do
We'll
like
get
that.
there.
Yes, I do like that commitment though, right? When you told me that, I was like, what? Really? Because you know what? If you're willing to back up what you promise like that, I align with that. I want to work with that. And that's why I agreed to everything. I was like, what did he say? He guarantees it? Okay.
At first, I mean, it's so amazing. It is unbelievable, right? But just the experience that I've had personally.
And you can order
I've seen
t-shirts from
it.
the apps too.
Oh yeah, play that slot machine every single day. I have friends that send me videos like, yay, want a hat. And then Starbucks gift cards. Angel loves to give those away.
They just built a Starbucks right in front of my neighborhood. I just found a new office, right? I'm like, oh, look at that, right there. I don't have to go anymore. But that's the future. People have to embrace that. Embrace the AI. Don't be afraid of it. How many things have our times from the 70s to now, the innovation have been so crazy fast. And guess what? Today will be the slowest day of your life going forward. I understand and believe that. And if you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
Right.
Just like, look, my coach yesterday said, are you taking time off? I said, no. He's like, take time off. I said, well, look, the night before I went to sleep, yesterday I did. Today, when we're done today, it's nails in a movie with my daughter. What's the point of doing what I do if I don't remember that sometimes? Okay?
That's the reason. That's the purpose.
Because I missed their vacation last week. Not happy about that, but as the leader, I have to do things sometimes. That will not going to happen again, I promise them, because that's the point of being an entrepreneur, so I don't have to have that. But I'm also accountable for everything in the end. Things weren't getting done, we fixed it. Okay, fine. But you got to have someone who asks you those questions. And it can't be, I don't think it works well with, say, a wife and a husband like that. Someone who, from the outside, who's not technically emotionally involved, but they are you doing this?
An unbiased opinion.
The one thing I appreciate about it is he cuts to the BS and says, are you doing this? When's the last time you and your wife had this date time? This business kills it. It kills the couple, okay? Because when do you have that line of work and not work?
It's hard to shut it off.
Right. And we used to have a great mailbox time where at a certain time we discussed everything and then it got lost. And then our work schedules are different. I'm early, she's late. I don't want to talk in the bedroom at night about business. I don't.
You know how you solve that? You find processes and systems to help
No, you don't
streamline.
work together. You don't work together.
Right. I'm not talking about that with the wife. I just mean the timing issue, right? So what do? You grow, you do your research, you bring in resources and people to help you streamline. So what's
Don't
the
work
purpose?
with your wife or husband ever.
Ever,
Rule,
right.
rule.
Okay, take them out. But
Take them out.
Take that out. But that's the point, right? The
Yes.
point is to create something so you can get back the most valuable thing, which is time.
You can't create it. We spend a ton to create a process and a system to be followed.
Right.
So when there's problems, what do you look at? Is it a people problem or is it a process problem? It's always a people problem now, okay? So look, I have an issue right now. I asked 7 questions. They sent me over information but didn't answer the 7 questions. So what did I do? Okay, I sent another email. I copy and pasted the 7 questions. Now I made them larger, bolder, and in red on a yellow background and said, hey, maybe you missed it in the first email, but I said answer these 7 questions. And I gave double spaces to answer afterwards. Don't send me another email without answering these 7 questions because you're not going to like what I respond with. Because it was very simple. Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Where is this in our system? It's not there.
That's why I like your structure, your chemical makeup, if you will, because I mean you come off very hard, right?
Hmm.
Us Leos, it's
I'm
not that we
soft.
don't listen,
I'm
it's that
soft.
we
I'm
listen,
cotton.
but we're very set in our ways,
Hmm.
right? So, but what I like about you and what stands you apart is you always give someone another opportunity to
Hmm.
make it right, because you know there is room for growth,
Hmm.
and as long as they accept responsibility, show that growth, then there's the purpose.
You know what you have to realize though? They're not you. And
That's
so now, do we want a bunch of me's running around?
please
Probably,
no.
yeah. So,
Just kidding.
no, I agree with that. We have to understand that we're not hiring ourselves. We understand exactly what's going on in our brain, but not theirs. And if we were truly hiring ourselves, they would be entrepreneurs then. Again, big believer in we test everybody here, predictive index. We test yearly because you can change. My profile under the different assessments used, I used to be what's called a dictator, my way or the highway. Can you imagine me being like
No,
that?
not at all.
Well, in the past, let me tell you, now it's more collaborative. I will always listen. I want, like you said, hey, talk me out of this, Pavan says. Similar, I want to hear different perspectives. I want to hear this manager's idea because how they see things is different from me. Doesn't mean I'm going to agree. What people need to understand is how you run your business. We use the Toyota philosophy. Any person can stop the line and raise their hand and say, we have a problem. They have to understand that they have that ability. Because if they use that ability, you will have less of an issue. When I run meetings and we have to have some hard conversations, I have two simple rules in the meetings. Don't call me bald. Don't call me fat. Everything else is open. Let me hear it. But like they laugh, right? I want the laugh. So now you understand is these are the parameters. Be respectful. I'm going to be it. And tell me the issue. Don't tell me I can be very reactive if you don't know. Don't tell me when we have the bomb going off. Tell me before the explosion. We can fix it here. We can't fix it once it blows up. All too often, people see what's coming and they don't want to rock the boat, get people in trouble. Bad, bad people then. So if we can't stop that thinking, we have to remove those people. Because when the bomb goes off, the company has a problem that we can't fix now. And if you knew it and you let it happen, are you really a good employee then? Maybe not.
I think transparency is really, really coming out these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can really, you can't hide anything these days.
That's why you tell people the direction, but when they give you, oh, I didn't want to get them in trouble. So you cared about them, but not the business. Then we lose money. Are you paying that?
In turn, the customer,
Mm-hmm.
the client.
Because so when we lose, that's less to give. Because in the end, we're here to make a profit. And when we go negative, how do we give then, right? January of this year, we had I forget what number was now. It was like 1,000 or 7,000 loss because our overhead is X, but 4 closings that were going to happen the last week happened the first week of February. But still, January was a loss. February and March just were amazing. In April, February, March, yeah, like 16, 18 closings in 3 months.
That's
But January,
awesome.
but you know how it's real estate, there's issues. So my accountant, I have 2 CPAs, one who does my monthlies and one who does my taxes. They work together but separately. So Miranda is her name. She says, you need to figure out, you know, this problem. I said, what's the problem? Well, you're running a loss of whatever, but you have committed to give this much money to these charities. Okay. And well, you shouldn't give that money. You're thinking wrong. She says, what do you mean? It's a negative and now a negative. I said, maybe I need to think how not to have the loss.
Well, 2 negatives make a positive.
Yeah, you're right. There you go. But her thinking was the opposite. Think of how not to have the loss.
Instead of finding a solution.
Right. And so we've worked on some other avenues to bring in other finances, so that's not a problem. The dealership being profitable is one way. This being profitable is another way. Mortgages one day, whatever it is, but you think differently, not cut to charities. No, we're giving that money. Like, we are obligated, in my mind. We made a commitment.
This is why you're out
This
here.
is what we're doing. And so now she's a really good CPA with us because now she's very proactive in her approach. Hey, what about this over here? You can save this and you'll put that over here for those times where you have, oh, I like how she thinks, to the point where we are in talks now. She's coming on board as my fractional CFO in January.
That's awesome.
This is too big for me to play with anymore, finances. I don't want to do it. I don't deal with a lot of that anymore, but we have a lot of investor money come in that's kept separate, and only I can release it because it's not my money.
You brought something very important. There was a miscommunication between you both originally, right? But since you were able to have a conversation, she now understands where everything comes from.
So she was, when in 23, I go to Indiana, I told you, in December, really cold, not good for me. Gary says, you got to get bankable. I said, well, what do we need to do? And we decided that we were going to hire a CPA, to do a forensic audit. Go back 3 years, pull it all apart, put it back together right. This person does that. So my accountant knew her, she's local, we met. What a hassle pulling things apart. You know what the difference in our numbers were? About $3,000.
That's actually really good.
That's what but not to a CPA.
Well, I go straight to like Ozarks. I'm like, could have been way worse.
But she's like, wait a minute, I paid you 10 grand to do this, and I was only off by 3. I think I should get like a refund. She didn't agree with that. But what she did agree, the deal was that she would pull it apart, she would set it up, and then we would hand it off to somebody else. But she thought what we do was really cool and interesting, and she loved our model to serve, that she stayed on.
I love that.
And then now she's not a hassle anymore. She's such a value in the sense that we created a system to where the operations secretary and her, the way they handle the books, you don't need me, because their system works well.
You're still somebody, Thomas.
No, but it said I don't have to explain anything anymore, right? I don't have to. Well, that's what I mean by not needed. Like, you build a system to where there's no explanations needed. They understand. It's like the two computers talk. So Shelly, she's been with me 5 years as a virtual assistant, which is incredibly long in that business.
Right.
So after my mother and my wife, she is the longest suffering woman in my life. And I tell her that, okay? Because I wasn't always this person when working with me is a challenge. Miranda, my CPA, said, I have to meet her. I said, that's a long flight. She's like, what are you talking about? She figured she was local. Nope. She's in the Philippines. What? Amazing, because Shelly's working in her genius now. There's a book called The 6 Types of Working Genius. And if you work in in category 1 or 2, you're happy. 3 or 4, you're okay. 5 or 6, you're miserable. Keep everybody in 1 and 2, guess what? They're happy. So what she used to do and what she does now is different. She went over into the operations secretary when we had to let somebody go as a stopgap, but it was her genius. I couldn't find, it was like almost $100,000 in my wife and our money in the company, because the last person was a mess. She found it in 8 days without asking, as she pulled everything apart and organized it. And I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get divorced now because you found
Where
that.
have you been all my life?
And I asked her, but this is how it works. So she has a daughter, deadbeat dad situation. She always had to borrow money to keep things good. I think she owed me, now imagine, you're a virtual assistant, you owed me $6,000. I said, you don't owe me anything anymore. I just wiped that debt out. And then whatever we made a deal to where all that extra money she needed is bonus to her every quarter. Okay? Because you fixed my problem, I'm going to fix yours.
What I hear a lot talking about your relationships with all these different people is you're really creating synergy. And I think that's very important, right? For growth and for vision and execution. And
not yelling.
Keeping the emotion out of it.
Well, so you like to talk astrology. Leos roar. We don't yell. Maybe I'm a kitten now. I meow a little bit. But
oh, you roar.
Oh, I know. Trust me. But if you let everybody know your direction, they know whether they're good or not, right? People don't get fired by accident. They know when it's coming. Look, we have a great system now. Okay, hey, verbal warning, written write-up. I don't even know how to do that. When the last time I wrote somebody up, I said, hey, I don't know how to do this. You write yourself up and give it to me. And you know what? They made it worse. I'm like, it wasn't that bad. But you create a system to where then you go into a performance enhancement plan. We're meeting weekly, and there's a goal. I can tell you the last person we put on a PIP, performance enhancement plan, quit after week 1 in the plan because he was never going to do it.
Well, those are super important. You see that in the corporate world, these large corporations, I mean, coming from the VA and from, the hospital networks, always in place. You always had those systems and processes.
Not me. Why would I need that? But you do.
You do. Everybody does. Everybody needs direction to focus.
Gary, it's focus. It's not focus. But you need the structure.
Structure.
I do not know how to build structure. I never needed it. I know how to work in my chaos. Other people don't.
You know how to connect and create synergy so you can find people.
People find you or they run away from you. People, after meeting me, wish they ran away, right? But
I'm 50-50.
Yeah, it's okay. You know what? I always joke, I want to be loved or hated. I either want you to love me or stab me. I'm good either way.
As long as I know what
As long as I want the extremes. That middle not caring bothers me more. Like, I don't care
Don't
about
be
you.
so wishy-washy.
Yeah, tell me you want to stab me or you
Right.
want to, right. And, but, the people you surround yourself with, your group, your network, you should always be looking to grow. And one of the guys who I met at a mastermind in the very beginning, and I still talk to him, and it's a really good conversation all the time, is he said, I see all those people with you. I'm going to build you a story here. He said, think of a rowboat. Those people are all in the boat. You're over here. There's a rope, but you're not in the water. You're on rocky ground. You're pulling the boat with people in it who aren't helping.
But are we going to Gilligan's Island?
It was more than a 3-hour tour, but the analogy was they're not helping me.
Right.
And they're not going to be with you in a year or you're going to quit what you're doing. I said, I'm not going to quit. He's like, they're not going to be with you.
I love that you said that. You're not going to quit.
You know what? He was right. In a year, they weren't with me because they wanted that life. I wanted that life.
That's such an important chapter, that shedding of the fat, right, and the skin. I feel like the end of last year was a very rough one for me, right? Everyone expected me to quit. I mean, I should have. I should have gone back to corporate America.
Never.
But I was like, this is why I'm doing this. This is my purpose. This is what I decided I'm going to do a couple years ago, and I am very resourceful, so I'm going to figure it out.
That's all it takes, right?
Here we go.
It's only failure when you quit.
Right.
And your job where you are now is to get there. Because there's always another group to get into. You want to be that little fish in the next group. Look, in the masterminds I've been, I started here, I get there, I earned over here. I want to be in groups that vet me to make sure I'm a good fit and I am the right person there. Okay, like the one I'm in, they want to see my financials to make sure I'm in the right level. Because maybe if they put me in the wrong space, I can't grow and learn, but I also can't provide value to a group I shouldn't be in.
Do you think there's a gray line there, though? For example, maybe you lack a little in the experience, right, on paper, but someone sees your growth, your potential, and they know the tools to get you there. And then they invest in you.
But when you're talking to these other groups, there's maybe 4 or 5 ways they judge you. You don't have to be in there in all of them, but you have to be in the majority of them. Because if they put you in a room you cannot comprehend, is that good for you just because you can swipe a credit card?
No.
Okay? So I coach people who I met in masterminds who should have never been there.
Makes sense.
Only because they could swipe a credit card. They couldn't even pay the yearly. They had to pay monthly and 25% interest on top of it. Was that good for the mastermind or for them? for the mastermind, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't consider this person. They were unqualified to be here. But because they could give you 30 grand, you let them sit in a room where they were over their head.
I don't love unqualified, but I
No.
feel like
Unqualified was the word to be in that room.
I get that. But what I mean is the money part, right? They were actually doing a disservice to this person by knowing they lack that what's the word I'm looking for?
Ability,
They
quality.
lack the qualifications to be
But
where
their
they
credit
need
card
to be.
could do it. They couldn't even swipe the 30K. It had to be whatever it was a month, okay? Because the credit card wouldn't take the hit.
And they should be using that to invest in a system or someone that can help get them to that
And
next level.
a few years later, they reached out to me and said, "Will you help? What's going on? We're in the same market. We met. They dropped out. I didn't, and then they explained to me, and I said, "Yeah, I got you." Now they're stable, uh, financially viable. In fact, I'm going to his wedding in October. Okay,
That's awesome.
we meet every Thursday, right? And the most thing I can give somebody is my time.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw a disservice, and I had to help because I watched it. You know, I see people say it all the time. Oh, we curate the room. Bull crap. Bull crap you do. How do I know? Because I know 5 or 6 people who should have never been there.
Mm-hmm.
And you swipe their card. We turn away 90%. Bull crap again. Okay?
I like that.
We don't align. I left. Because who I align with matters so much because I'm going to learn from you. I don't need to learn. I grew up on the streets. I can be shiesty as all hell, right? Let me tell you for sure. I grew up in the 70s, 80s in Manhattan. I was a latchkey kid in 2nd grade. Don't talk to me about survival, okay?
We had no rules.
We were on an elevated train in 5th and 6th grade from Manhattan to the Bronx to go watch Yankee games. You would never let your children do that today. I saw half my teachers drinking in the stand, and they bought us the alcohol later as well. Okay? 2nd grade, coming home in Manhattan to a key because that was life. We only moved because, you ready for this? There was a drug gang called the Jerry Curls. They shot up the apartment building across the street, and I'm talking, they sprayed it down. My father was a postal inspector, and we moved. And back then, you didn't move to California. That was like,
Right.
that's where E.T. lived, remember? You either moved to New Jersey or Long Island. That was as far as it can go. And it was like 50 miles. And when we moved to New Jersey, I was like, hey, where are the sidewalks and the street lights? Because there's nothing here. Moved to Piscataway, New Jersey. That's where Rutgers is. Imagine you go from Manhattan to piss that away. Where the hell did you bring me? Cows. And then the world changed.
But how important was that transition for you, right? I feel I have a very similar background to you, right? Moved around quite a bit.
Blonde-haired, Mexican-looking. You're Mexican descent. You would never know, right? We talked about this. It's funny.
I stood out a little bit in Calexico. But I guess my point being, I used to be, not really woe is me, but you know, you look at the traditional family, what you thought the traditional family was. Unfortunately, those people, they're kind of stuck, right, in that same traditional sense where we are able to connect with all kinds of walks of life, and we understand people just because we were given those experiences.
Well, we had a really bad, so my father was a survivor, an alcoholic. It was rough, okay? And I always looked at these other families as, oh, I wish that was us. But I found out later on they were more screwed up than we were, okay? I couldn't wait to leave. And I left a lot. But when my parents were in trouble, I came back to help. When my dad died, I came back to help my mom. And then we moved to Florida because I always wanted to be, I hated cold. So, my life was never going to be there because I knew there was more. There had to be travel. There had to be something different. Like, if when I grew up, people basically lived and died in the same town. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I took, my mom passed away in 23. She died here, but she wanted to be buried up in New Jersey. And I don't like going back too often. When we buried my father, it was February. It was the coldest. It wasn't enough for snow, but it was like 2 degrees above it. So it was ice rain. It was miserable. And that's my recollection of that day. My mom, we go to bury her, but she was cremated. It was the most beautiful day I can remember in New Jersey. Blue skies, no humidity. I got to show my children, I graduated high school there. I went to college there. I lived there. That's where I had my health food stores. I showed them like 11 of my stores. Then we, dropped off my mom the urn. We had the service. What an amazing day. And then we left. If I have to never go back, I'm good, right? Because I still have friends and who whatever, but I don't wish to go back to that.
You don't have a need.
I don't have a need. My wife, she wants to go to her family in Queens once in a while. Okay.
Do you think because it brings up kind of the past?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a good spot for me.
Right.
And
you kind of rehash that every time you go back, right?
Florida, different. California, different.
California. Wait till we talk about that.
Maybe Texas, right? So, we're going to wrap up in a minute. This was an amazing talk. I felt like you interviewed me more than me talking about you.
I usually do that.
I know, right? Give the audience one takeaway of what you think is going to happen as we go forward. Not just with us, with business, with AI. Tell me your thoughts on how you figure the next year looks for AI. But everyone should know she has a twin. It's called Angel AI. We're going to show you some pictures one day soon.
Wait till everyone sees your twin on that website you're creating. Woo!
It better be the cartoon version that I have dancing, right?
It's going to look just like you. I get a lot of pushback when I try to educate on AI, right? 6 months ago, I didn't know the difference between Bitcoin and blockchain. But given the opportunity I was given, I mean, you know me, I did my research. I jumped in, made sure I knew what I was talking about. And every day I'm constantly learning, right?
That's voodoo to me over there still. I'm not a buyer yet.
So I still, I think it's very important to realize, I mean, a lot of people that aren't accepting the future, I mean, the future's here, AI's here, innovation's here, are the same people that didn't understand Facebook, didn't understand the internet, didn't understand
they're not the same
Gmail.
people. They're just the same version.
The same version. But look, now everyone has that. And this is where it's going. And I think a lot of it right now is just all about education. So someone asked me for, well, not me personally, but someone asked for help yesterday. And I provided the help. And instead of saying thank you, they passive aggressively posted on Facebook about it. And they were pretty much talking trash and comparing Angel AI to ChatGPT. And I just want people to realize what we're doing is so, I mean, there's nothing else like it.
Well, hold on. I'm going to stop you so I have both, right? Chat says this ain't guaranteed. Angel says it is. So there's a difference right there because there's a little disclaimer. One says guaranteed. One said, hey, check this stuff out. Make sure it's good.
Well, ChatGPT, I mean, it's just pulling information from the internet. Angel, I mean, that's all just 44 years of data from SunWest Mortgage, and that's why it's backed.
There's a difference, okay? You're either going to embrace and pivot and do it, or you're going to be a dinosaur and extinct.
And you're going to be left behind.
That's the story of everything in business. It's not static. I'm going to leave you with this. We're pivoting from where we were in real estate to where we're doing. And I had the wholesale company, different business. My wholesale manager said to me, we are going to ride this until the wheels fall off. And since he doesn't understand the financing of everything, we were losing $20K a month in wholesaling now. It changed. I said, hey, the wheels are off. We are over the cliff and on fire. Because $20,000 a month, I'm writing a check and losing. And he didn't understand that part. He does now, because you know what I did? I shut it down. 20K. What's your plan? We're just going to keep doing this. Okay, you're the manager here, and you're telling me we're going to keep writing $20,000 checks. Are you going to write them? Oh, no. Shut it down.
Well, the model we're building and what you're building and why we have that synergy is because you really want to be that full concierge, right? As do I. We want to provide everything. So there's not too many cooks in the kitchen. There's not too many issues that could arise, right? So why not bring it all in-house? Streamline everything from insurance to mortgage
Oh, I don't know about insurance, but
to credit repair. I
No,
mean,
no,
to
you guys do that.
title, to everything.
So, but you have to have somebody you can, for lack of a better term, yell at to get results when it goes bad. If you can't have a hard conversation because they don't work for you, there's no accountability then. They can just say, hey, I'm not answering your call. My employee can't do that. My customer matters. When I call about that customer, you better have my answer. If you're not in-house in some way, you don't have to pick up that call.
Right.
And guess what? I've learned that's the problem.
And you're very smart about it. You're aligning with people right now. I mean, you can call the CEO right now and he'll answer.
Well,
you know what I mean? It's
I
very
always joke. Yes, I joke about I don't have to learn it at first. I will now. I'm committed to get this. Once I get it, now we're going to learn it. I'm not going to run it because I'm not a good manager. It's not my role. But I have to understand it because how I look at things to use it is different. Like when we built this dealership, it was this way, and then I learned something about something over here. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We're going to use it like this, right? Because we're going to use it to best serve the client.
Exactly, and
Just
you
like I
saw the
told you.
benefit to the client, the value.
So everybody, hey, thank you for an amazing. You got to see her twin one day. You're going to see it, right? Everybody in Layman Turns podcast, Angel AI, Miss Fallon.